but I had the honor to represent a lot of Canadians of origin in China for 27 years in our parliament. And the government of China accuses David Matas, that's David on the left, they accuse David Matas and I of being enemies of China. I want to assure you that that's the last thing that either of us are, that we like to think, like all of you, I'm sure, that we're the friends of the people of China. Anyway, these are the two books. One is called Bloody Harvest, that came out in 2009, that the two of us wrote. And I should probably tell you a little bit about David Matas. He's the hardest working person I've ever known in my life. If he was up here tonight, he'd have his laptop up and he'd be working on his laptop while I was talking, certainly. And he works 24/7. He's been a lawyer for 35 years, and he just never stops on human rights, refugee law, and that sort of thing. He's an amazing human being. This book came out in 2009, and I wish I had a copy for each of you. I don't, but if anybody wants to look at it afterwards, I'm happy to loan you the copy, at least for a while tonight. And this book came out last year, 2012. No, 2010 actually. I'm behind the times. And it's an update. It's written by a number of people who are knowledgeable about this subject, and I may refer to that in a few minutes. Actually, I know that time is limited, so I better get on with what I'm going to talk about. I'm quite certain, ladies and gentlemen, that time is of the essence on this issue, that women and men are being killed in China. If not as we speak, they're being killed on probably a daily or every second day basis in China. And the way the system works is that if one of you, and I hope that would never happen, but if somebody in Stockholm needs a new liver, for example, they, well, let me not say Stockholm, let me say Canada. Let's say Ottawa, Canada, where I'm from. They arrange through a broker to go to probably Shanghai. They fly to Shanghai. They pay over, can you put the prices up, please, of the organs? Yeah, those are the prices of the organs as of websites some time ago. You can see what they cost. Say for a liver is 130,000 US. So once you've paid your 130,000 US, and you all know that people are desperate, and if they have the money, they will pay it. Some people will. They fly to Shanghai. They probably go to the #1 People's Hospital in Shanghai, where they're blood tested and tissue tested and all the things you have to do for a transplant. And then the computer says there's a match for, let's say it's Vasilios. There's a match for Vasilios out in work camp number 300, and we think there are about 350 forced labor camps in China. I'll get to that in a minute. And somebody who's a match for Vasilios by blood type and tissue type is dragged out of the work camp into probably a makeshift hospital. He's given a light anesthetic. All of his organs are taken out. His body is then, the body of the victim, the donor, is then burned, and the organs are flown to Shanghai in a People's Liberation plane for a fee. They make lots of money out of this. And he gets the new liver, and he's probably told that he's getting the liver of a convicted murderer who's going to be executed anyway. He doesn't need the organ, so really it's okay. What they don't tell you is that in these work camps, the only people who are examined about every 3 months by medical doctors are Falun Gong practitioners. And even the US government has estimated that about half the people in these work camps are Falun Gong practitioners. So there's a very good chance that the new liver he's getting is coming from a Falun Gong practitioner who's been convicted of nothing. I'll tell you about these work camps now then. They were set up by Mao in the 50s. They're modeled after the concentration camps of Hitler and the gulags of Stalin. They're somewhere in between the two. But you can be sent to one of these camps on the signature of a policeman. Can you imagine? No charge, no hearing, no appeal. A policeman walks up to you and says he wants you to go to a labor camp. He signs an order and Bolette, you're off to a labor camp for up to 4 years. And when you get there, you work, we've been told this, by the way, by people who've managed to get out of these camps and get out of China. And David Matus and I have talked to people in probably about 15 countries who've told us about these camps. They are unimaginable. If you work about 16 hours a day, you get no pay, you get terrible food, you have 16 of you sleeping in a room, and you know what you're doing all day? You're making consumer products for the West. We've had, for example, Dr. Charles Lee told us that he was actually making these Homer Simpson slippers that when he finally got out of the camp and got back to New Jersey, where he's from, he saw in a department store in New Jersey. They make Christmas decorations in these camps. Can you imagine? And you're saying to yourself, well, how do they get these goods from these forced labor camps to Stockholm, for example? The way they do it is companies who buy these things go through middlemen, and they say, well, we didn't know that this Christmas decoration was coming from a forced labor camp. Yeah, maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't try very hard to find out either. And what a lot of us feel is that Sweden and Canada and other countries with rule of law should put an onus on importers to prove that the goods they're bringing into Stockholm or Ottawa are not coming from forced labor. That might help. The U.S. has an agreement with China that there'll be no goods brought in by forced labor, but they don't enforce it, so it's a meaningless agreement.